Yes! Welcome into Sports Bit. Betty and Insight today, Monday, November 14th. Pauly and Teddy. Big game breakdown. Monday Night Football. Bengals take on the Giants. And one game in the association, the Thunder and the Pistons. And we got, oh man, all the upsets in college football Saturday. We'll run it all down in the deep dive. Hell of a game again on Sunday Night Football. If the ratings don't go up, nothing's going to help the NFL. The Seahawks in a horrible spot on a short week. Travel cross country. They upset the Patriots on the road. Huge win. And what is it when these teams get together with the shenanigans at the goal line, Teddy?
Yeah, and again, I mean, Seattle impressive in two ways to me. The Patriots defense, I haven't seen the Patriots defense get picked apart by anybody the way that Russell Wilson picked them apart last night, on the one hand. And on the other hand, here's New England's offense, and no one's been able to stop. And guess what? Seattle, second straight week at the goal line at the end of the ball game, taking care of business. So, I mean, that was a very surprising win to me. And let's give the Seahawks credit. I didn't see it coming. Though for the books, I mean, there was a fair bit of New England money. This wasn't a disastrous result for the house. There were worse games than this for the books on Sunday. Certainly a pretty good result for the house with Seattle winning.
How about Carroll going for 2 to put it on 9?
I don't blame him.
Wow.
I don't. I'm in favor of that move because at 9 you win the game.
That's true. First and goal from the 2, and the Patriots can't punch it in. Contact there with Gronk, no call. And how about this, Teddy, with the Cowboys-Steelers game, and then the Patriots and the Seahawks with all the lead changes.
Well, yeah, the first time in NFL history that you had 2 different games on the same day with 7 lead changes. Yeah, it was exciting football. No question about it. It wasn't good for anybody who was laying points in either one of those 2 games, unfortunately. I was laying points in both of them.
All right, here we go. We have a rant. You are upset. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad at myself. I mean, the central question for a handicapper is, what are the markets not valuing correctly? And we know this. We talked about it all week last week. What did we talk about last week, Pauly? We talked about we knew the Vikings had fallen apart, but the markets were still valuing their 5-0 start. Did we take advantage? No. I was scared of Jay Gruden 0-5 straight up and against the spread with X trying to repair. That counts week 1 and his 2 previous bye weeks. I didn't want to trust the Redskins at chalk, blah, blah, blah. So, something that I knew the markets were wrong about, didn't take advantage. That's not the only one. We knew the Jets' team chemistry had fallen apart. We knew they were a bet against team moving forward. We talked about it last week. They were still priced competitively, though. Did I take advantage? No. I was scared of back in the Rams. I was scared of the market move towards LA, despite what I knew. Is that it? No, there's more. We said, what did we say in the show last week? The mother of all bad spots for the Falcons. Did I fade the Falcons? No. Did Atlanta win? No. I said, what did we say we said the Texans' 0-3 road record was because of their opponents. They played Denver and Minnesota and New England on a short week. Did we bet the Texans, even though the Jags were chalk at kickoff? No. The Jags can't be chalk. Another Blake Bortles day. So who did I put my money on? Who did I tell my clients to put my money on? And not just a bet, Pauly. A big bet. With all these good games and all these good spots, you know who I had my money on? Jay fucking Cutler is who I had my money on and who I advised others to put their money on. Enough said. I mean, really, enough said. That's a bad job by me. I'm an 18-year Vegas veteran. I'm human. You're human. Our viewers are human. That's no excuse. No reason not to be pissed off at myself. As a bettor, as a capper, you always need to come back to the central question. What are the markets not valuing correctly? It's a good lesson to reinforce right here, right now. It's the one that I should have looked at a little bit better last week.
All right, now, very good. Very good. Yeah. Good energy there. The books cleaned up on that Jacksonville game, Teddy, because there was a ton of professional money on Jacksonville. Bortles starts off with the pick 6.
Yeah, and that was the difference in the game. I mean, it was a strong result for the house. Heavy wise guy steam on the Jags. Remember, Texans were chalk, and Jacksonville went off as -2, -2.5 in some spots. Oops. Yep.
And books did pretty good on this Panthers game, and the Carolina just pissed their season down their leg. And Cam Newton, 17-0 against Kansas City. Chiefs can't move the ball. 17-6, 10 minutes left, no big deal. Cam Newton on third down throws it up for grabs, deep in his own territory. The Chiefs house it, and they come back to win the game. A horrible job by Cam Newton and the Panthers.
Sure, and let's not forget, Cam also took a sack that he couldn't take earlier in the game that took Carolina out of field goal range. That cost him 3 points. But, I mean, that was a good result for the house. It stayed at -3, but it went to -3, -115, -3, -120, -3, -125. It was pretty heavy Carolina money in that ball game. But Second time this year, KC's rallied back from 17 down, and maybe the karma still mad at Cam Newton for the post-Super Bowl press conference, or the lack thereof.
Sure. Bad for the books. The Broncos total opens 47, bet to 50. It lands 48, right in the middle. And how about the finish? Tie game. Looks like the Saints are going to win it. The blocked extra point. Back to the house for the Broncos. What a win.
Oh, my God. And there's no way to handicap that. I don't know if there's any way to handicap some of the insane finishes we saw in the NFL yesterday. The Saints weren't going to cover anyway, so who cares? The Broncos won straight up. If you had Denver on the money line, did you good. Not a good result, as you mentioned, for the bettors.
No good for the books as well. It was Bryce Petty with the start with the Jets. Rams score late to get the W. The over never had a shot.
No. There was nobody betting the Jets yesterday. Not with Bryce Petty behind center. Not with all the reports coming out of New York this week that nobody likes each other anymore. L.A. opened as high as +3. They closed at -1 at most locations. The total got bet from 42 down to 38. That's two big moves. The house loses both of them. Punter, Johnny Hecker, the MVP. Heck of a game. That 78-yard field turner was a real difference maker in that ball game. And the Jets, their season's gone south in a hurry.
Good battle here again with the pros against the Joes. Look at this Atlanta game, what the line was doing. Philly goes off the favorite at the smart shops.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. People say the line closed. Okay, the line closed. What did the line close at? Blank. The line closed at X in X book. This is a class example, okay? At Bovada, okay? At Sports Interaction, books that cater to recreational bettors. What's the closing line? Falcons -1. You look at Pinnacle. You look at Chris or Bookmaker, the U.S.-facing side of that. The ones that cater to more sharp action. They closed Philly -2. Now, that's a sharp square divide. You got a 3-point difference between the square books and the sharp books. The sharp books had the right number. Philly, whatever. We said it was a bad spot for Atlanta, and it was. They did not bring their A game.
Yep, shame on me. They got me in this one. I can't believe I did it. I know all the problems in Green Bay. Still thought they would bounce back against the Titans. Mariota lit them up. Sound the alarms in Green Bay. Another loss, and look at the schedule coming up.
Oh, yeah. This is another game that square money, nothing but square money on the Packers, nothing personal, Pauly. But I think it was a 10-1 ticket count in that game, which is all you need to know. Titans were impressive, but yeah, you talk about that schedule. Green Bay's next 4 games, all against playoff contenders. Washington, Philly, Houston, Seattle. They close their final 3 versus their 3 divisional foes. How many wins the Packers going to get out of that, Pauly?
I don't know. I think they're going to miss the playoffs, and time for McCarthy to go. I think this is a bad beat as well. Tomlin, like he was Helfrich with Oregon. 0 for 4 on the 2-point conversions. He went for it early after the first 2 touchdowns. They couldn't get it. Came back to bite him. Oh,
it came back to bite them big time. They were chasing that first point the whole game. We probably could, even though Dallas won the game and Pittsburgh was laying, the whole way that final scenario plays out. Okay, if Pittsburgh kicking the extra points the whole game, Dallas isn't going to win there with a field goal. They would have needed a touchdown. Okay, so if Dallas needs a touchdown, guess what? Pittsburgh doesn't run blitz on that play to try to knock them back to make it a longer field goal try. And if Pittsburgh doesn't run blitz on that play, guess what? It doesn't have a wide open path to the end zone. The whole game plays out differently, and it all came down to the 2-point conversions. I will not rip a coach for being aggressive. Tomlin's done it, and he's done it successfully. Just seems like whenever I'm betting on the Steelers, the guy misses those. And the Steelers, the last 2, it didn't look like they know what they were doing on the 2-point tries. A team that does it almost every week. So poor execution, obviously poor result if you had the Steelers. And how about Elliott, man? What a big day for Zeke Elliott before he gets suspended by the NFL.
Oh, come on. Get out of here. Get 1,000 yards already. You're right. We're off to a great start. UFC recap. They set a record with the gate in Madison Square Garden. One of the biggest stars in the world of sports, McGregor, the only guy to have 2 belts at the same time. Late money came in on McGregor. He had no problem with Alvarez. He toyed with him. I wish I had this information before it happened. Misha Tate with a listless performance. She had nothing and then announced her retirement afterwards in her loss, and the confusion was contagious. Buffer pulled a Steve Harvey. He read the scores wrong. He said Woodley won. Notice? No. Majority draw. He doesn't win, but he keeps the belt with the Wonder Boy fight. That was crazy, that UFC card. Great job, Mark Ratner, for getting it legalized in New York, and great job, Dana White, for putting on a dynamite show.
No argument here, Paul.
All right, up next, big game breakdown, Monday Night Football, and we'll save the best for last with what happened in college over the weekend on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Time for a big game breakdown. As always, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Monday Night Football, the Bengals, ton of Bengals money, now favored by 1 at the Giants, 47.5 the total. They're coming off the long bye since that overtime tie in London against the Redskins. Eifert back into full swing. Time to tweak the playbook, Teddy. As we've discussed for about the last month or two here on SportsBit, they're moving the ball, but all the red zone issues because of no Eifert.
Yeah, well, with Eifert back in the lineup, all of a sudden, because the Redskins, they were scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And they really, what do you have, 13 touchdown catches last year? They missed him. But while the offense should be a notch or two better, and you think when you have that extra time, and again, it was an extended break, even the extra day to Monday Night Football, you would think the chemistry is going to be there with that extra time to tweak the playbook. But the defense got a problem, man. No Ray Maluga tonight. That forces Vinny Ray into a starting role, and that could well be a problem against this Giants offense.
They have those 3 great wide receivers. You see the graphic here with the numbers. Beckham, 44 grabs, 676 yards. Shepard, 34 for 384, and Cruz, 25 for 377. But no running game at all. Now, can they get this running game going with Jennings coming back?
They might. I mean, in theory, the running game is supposed to start working when the downfield passing game is working. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened yet for the G-men. There's been a lot of botched execution in the ground game. But when you got 3 receivers, and any one of the 3 can stretch the field, and you have only 546 yards on the ground, there were 12 individual running backs that entered the week with more yards than that. Jeremy Hill, for instance, he was close, 515. Now, I mean, Jennings has been real slow to get on track. You know, a guy who is consistently averaging in the 4.5 yards per rush range so far this season, only 2.6. But back in the lineup with the downfield passing game working, I have to think that the Giants find at least something to bring a little bit more balance on offense. The running game isn't going to be dead forever.
Thoughts on the Giants defense? Money well spent. Are they getting it done in your opinion?
I think that from a personnel standpoint, I've been impressed with the Giants. From an execution standpoint, I haven't. And McAdoo, as a coach, has been a little bit spotty for me in a lot of ways. But when you talk about teams that have potential, the 2016 NFL is about teams that have offensive playmakers and defensive playmakers. And the Giants have both of those. So there's hope for the G-men moving forward, but they got to get past Cincy tonight to be. I mean, not that they're dead if they don't get past Cincy tonight, but if the Giants are going to do anything, you know, they got to get to 9 or 10 wins to get a playoff spot in the NFC. They're capable. They're a very capable football team. But what you asked me about the defense, pretty good.
All right,
pretty good, but maybe not living up to the talent level just yet.
More on this game coming up in the play of the day. Game number 2, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. The Association, Thunder on the road to take on Detroit. Pistons 3, 200 the total. A horrible loss last night by the Thunder at home to the Magic, and they gave up a ton of points. Now, look at this schedule, Teddy. Detroit back at home after the long road trip. We know what usually happens when that team's back on that first game of a long homestand.
Yeah, and this is definitely something that's worth talking about from an NBA handicapping perspective. The prevailing wisdom is always, they're back home. They're a great spot. No, the second game back home is a great spot. The first game back home, think about it. You get home, you've been gone for a week. What do you got to do? You got to pay bills. You got to go talk to your neighbor. You got to check the mail. Your girlfriend wants attention. Your wife wants attention. You know, it's different for game one, and those tend to be bet against spots. And when you look at the schedule, again, they played the Clippers and at Phoenix and at San Antonio, lost those 3. Got the win on the second night of back-to-backs in altitude at Denver to close out the trip. They salvaged something. So they're not even coming home desperate. And what happens after the night? Just a 1-game trip home. Then they travel to Madison Square Garden. Then they travel to Cleveland. So in that short time at home with the 1 game, they got to deal with a lot of things, not just basketball. So you wonder, is this really a home game? Or is this actually part of a 9-game road trip that's longer than you think it is or a 7-game road trip, I should say, based on the 4 they played and the 2 that are upcoming. It's worth noting the Pistons, even though they have played a tough early schedule, they do have the number 6 defense in the NBA for the first couple of weeks of the campaign.
Thunder schedule the opposite of Detroit. They've been home since November 4th. 4 games in that span, no back-to-backs. A lot of time for Donovan to work with the new rotation. Westbrook putting up great numbers, but they're also getting it done on defense. Remember, it's points per 100 possessions. You got to factor in pace there. Here's this graphic. Points per 100 possessions. They were 16th in 2015. They were 12th last year, and they are 4th so far early on in the season. No Durant. They're really pushing the ball. Pace, pace, pace. Go, go, go.
And that's the key, what you're talking about here. If you look at Oklahoma City's overall numbers, you're not going to see the defense looking much better. But that points per possession is so key, and the markets aren't going to fully note. Again, at the top of the show, what are we saying? What are the markets not valuing correctly? Potentially Oklahoma City's defense. The markets have not fully noted that defense because their pace has picked up so much. What are they? 3.1 possessions per game faster than last season. That tells me there might be some value on OKC defensively, even though they're not a squad that I'm looking to bet under the total based on that faster pace in 2016-17 thus far.
Yep. Again, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. The deep dive up next. How about this weekend in college football? Number 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 14, all lost. And we'll get to a brutal beat that people were tweeting at us. It was so bad. That's coming up in the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy at Pauly Howard on Twitter at Teddy_covers. Here we go, the deep dive every Monday. It's college football. For only the second time in the history of the sport, number 2, 3, and 4 all lost on the same Saturday. $100 moneyline parlay on Iowa, USC, and Pitt paid $44,000. This from PredictionMachine.com. You had 11 dogs of 7+ or more that won outright, Teddy. What was the biggest surprise to you? To me, it was Michigan losing at Iowa.
Of course, and especially the way that Iowa looked. I was surprised that the Wolverines couldn't get anything going offensively against that. Iowa didn't move the football. Michigan's defense was fine, but the Wolverines, after that initial touchdown, they did nothing. But they hadn't really been tested on the road all year. When you get tested on the road, this isn't the NFL. College football, when you're young and you're immature and you haven't been in these situations 100 times before, sometimes it gets to you, and that definitely happened to the Wolverines on Saturday night.
Yeah, and hey, Clemson, you keep screwing around. That's going to happen. How about Clemson? Michigan, 3 touchdown favorites. They get beat, and I'll tell you, it's time to adjust your power ratings. USC, we knew they had a ton of talent. They are playing great football.
That team, let's put it this way. It was the worst game that I've seen Washington play all year, but USC forced them to play that bad. USC was dynamite in that ballgame, no question about it.
Yeah, can't believe how many times Browning just tripped and fell in that one.
Browning had a rough day.
He was horrible.
As I've seen him play all year.
Oh, horrible. All right, bad beats. Here's Penn State, a team trying to make the Big Ten title game. They were down late with 4 minutes left, and they went by 14.
Yeah, Indiana gives away 10 late points. They failed on 4th down, and then they had a strip sack, and then, of course, the fumble return touchdown in the final seconds. Penn State -7. Yeah, they're down by 3 with 4 minutes left. They win by 2 touchdowns. Never in doubt. Brutal if you had Indiana.
Yeah.
Just brutal.
Yep. Here's another one. Tennessee laying 14 against Kentucky. They're up 49-22 with 4 minutes left. Oh, no. Kentucky with 2 late touchdowns. They lose by 13.
Yeah, and then that line bounced around 13, 13.5, 14. Ends up, with the Vols winning by exactly 13. Tough beat if you laid it with Tennessee and you didn't get the best of the number.
And here it is. Even the viewers were tweeting us about this one. Louisiana Tech and Texas San Antonio. This was a roller coaster. You could actually say it was a bad beat for both sides. What the hell was Skip Holtz doing there at the end?
Oh, my God. So, Louisiana Tech's up 28. They could have clinched with a field goal. The field goal get blocked in return for a touchdown. And then, the Roadrunners score another touchdown to close it to 14. And then you have an onside kick return for the touchdown. Those are brutal. You get about 1 or 2 of those every year. The onside kick for a touchdown, you're like, and then, of course, Louisiana tacked on 1 TD in the final seconds. And Skip, yeah, he was running hurry up with 5 seconds
Running
left.
a hurry up, I know.
That was baffling. But La Tech -2, 22.5.
Oh.
This is now 6 straight wins and covers for the Bulldogs, and every one of those games has cashed with the over. La Tech and over has been the underrated story of maybe the entire college football season.
Yep, UCLA laying 12 at home against Oregon State. They get the pick 6. That's karma for what happened against Stanford as UCLA gets the money there in that one. Bad beats? Well, here it is. Let's get to the bad beats. We've talked about this a lot. This is a tough day for the totals team. Pitt, Clemson, over. Forget about it. The under never had a shot. You were cooked in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, there was a ton of total steam. Wise guy moves that went the wrong way. Now, Pitt versus week 1 versus Villanova stayed under the total. Since then, they have not just gone over the total, they have flown over the total every single week. They've been in the 70s every single week. Look at the chart. Do you see any totals? It's in the 70s? Nope. Under money again last week. They keep betting pace on Pitt. It's not about pace. It's about offensive execution. Let's give Pitt credit. They played a great game on offense, and they cashed another over ticket, and I don't know why they keep betting on it.
Yep, NC State Syracuse, 7-point move with that total.
Yeah, 55.5 up to 62. The game falls 55. Bettors didn't factor the proper impact of quarterback Dungy missing for Syracuse in terms of either effectiveness or pace. They had to slow it down without their starting QB.
Bad bets continues. The Louisiana Tech total bet from 71 down to 63, fell 98, and Michigan was bet up to 24 against Iowa, Teddy.
Yeah, that was -17.5 all the way up to 24. There was like 3 or 4 different moves on the Wolverines over the course of the week. The wise guys loaded up on Michigan. The public loaded up on Michigan. And this, one of the best games of the season for the sports book, certainly in college football.
Yes, and bad for the books. They got middled here with the Navy game. It lands 2.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal. Navy bet from -1 to -3. Tulsa loses by 2. And, I mean, some shops were at Tulsa -1 or pick them during the week. Everyone else was in the middle. And late bettors picked off some +3s to win there also. So, yeah, that was a bad result for the house.
Yes, and Ole Miss bet down to 7 from 11 to 7 against A&M. A battle of the backups, and Patterson leads a huge comeback on the road.
Yeah, the big fourth quarter rally. They were down 15 points. They ended up winning the game outright. And when there's a 4-point move and you win the game outright, yeah, the books never liked that result.
Yep, they got caught in the middle of this one too. South Carolina, Florida wins 20-7.
Yeah, they got caught in the squeeze. That was +14.5 at the open. It closed +12.5. So the dog money won. Then at -12.5, the favorite money got a chance to win. Yeah, when it lands between the opener and the closer, that tends to be a very bad result for the bookmakers. I don't think you're going to hear anybody talk about how great that South Carolina-Florida game was for the house.
Yeah, bad for the books. Boise State bet up from 18 to 22. They crush Hawaii. Oklahoma bet up to 18 against that flat Baylor team. They win 45-24. And how about the Pirate again and Washington State, the get-out game? We talked about it here on SportsBit. They are running the ball. They have a decent defense. They've won 8 in a row, and they thumped Cal, Teddy, and there was more Washington State money.
Yeah. Oh, -15 to -17.5 for Washington State. They blow out Cal. I mean, Cal made a ton of mistakes in that game. A couple of demoralizing miscues in the red zone early. But the Cougs just ran them out. Boise -18 to -22. Oklahoma -14.5 to -18. All of those bets, good bets, and the books paid the price by cashing all those winning.
And one of the best coaches in college football that no one talks about, Bob Davie at New Mexico. He took over a program that went 1-11, 1-11, and 1-11. They win again. They're going back to a bowl, and they beat Utah State on the road.
Yeah, and a ton of Lobos money, +2.5 to -1.5. The under got bet 63.5 down to 57, and both the New Mexico money and the under money was correct. Odds makers had a bad read on that game all the way around. And the Lobos made the sports books pay like they've done pretty much nonstop for the last month and a half.
We ripped Cal and Oregon, and rightfully so. Put Arizona in there, too, with their horrible defense in the Pac-12. Colorado and over, bad for the books, too.
Sure, Colorado bet from -15 to -17.5. The over from 57.5 to 61.5. 49-24, favorite and over, the worst combination for the books. They got stung badly on that game.
All right, a rough week for us, but let's run it down. A 23-11 run. Still, we got a great record here on SportsBit. 29-15-1 on the football season. Let's go back to Monday Night Football. What are we doing, Teddy?
Well, we talked about the Giants' explosive playmakers on offense. We talked about the fact the Bengals have their Pro Bowl tight end catching touchdown pass in the red zone. We've got playmakers all over the field tonight. We haven't even mentioned some guy named A.J. Green. Let's look for the Giants and the Bengals to get up and over the total, 47.5. That's our play of the day.
All right, Tuesday, Jimmy Vaccaro, recap how the books did. Those bridge jumpers took a beating in college football. I assure you of that, and we'll get to the NBA. And the committee, what are they going to do Tuesday night? Oh, my God, with the rankings. We'll talk to you then on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.